is Fake for Life, and as promised, I went ahead and did a full review of this guy following the live stream that I did the other day. This is Fan Toys FT-30C Goose, their version of Skydive from the Aerial Boss. This is their second release from this group, but let's go ahead and get into the review. Packaging, very long, pretty standard. There's nothing crazy going on here. Really nice images. The box is always kind of nice from Fans Toys. Some renders artwork down there. On the back, we do get him showing next to Maverick. I will have him properly transformed this time since I actually had a little bit of time to mess with him. And you can see his various alt modes and the very nice decos that he has here. He's obviously a little bit more toon deco than toy deco. So, out of the packaging, you do get him in a styrofoam shell with a plastic cover on top. No combiner parts are included in this, so as I said with the Fans Toys spoiler review, all the combiner parts for this set are also going to be seemingly included in the last member of their team. So expect that one to cost significantly more, I would imagine, than the rest of the limbs. So first things first, oh, actually, what else do we get? So we also get the set of instructions. As you can see, very nice, pretty detailed, and then we have his stat card here. His stat card, nice hard plastic, nice rendering on the front, stats on the back. Basically the same images we had elsewhere. As for this guy, out of the packaging, he does come mistransformed, which is pretty standard. They probably do that to some degree to just reduce packaging size, also maybe to help with any potential breakages. But for him, there are a couple of interesting ones. The feet, that's probably just to make him more compact, so get his toes and his heels out. His wings, so his wings are actually mistransformed. I didn't really realize this before. To correctly transform him, you actually have to pull out on this wing section here, and then rotate the wing inwards. This part you'll have to extend out on the slider and fold back, and then you can collapse it on that slider as well. And then once this is rotated the correct way, you can slide this back in. There's a tab right here that will go in here, like so. So you'll see the difference this versus this. So out of packaging and in the quote-unquote correct orientation, I suppose. So let's do that again. So again, we need to pull out on this section first. That will make sure when you rotate it to clear this tab. Pull out on the slider on this wingtip. Close that up. And then make sure this is fully aligned because this tab needs to go into this slot this time. Alright, the last piece is get the arm straight up. His chest is not actually locked into place, so you want to actually untap the neck first. That's probably better. Then pull up on the chest. There's two tabs here. And then you can see underneath there's two flaps. What you need to do is close this back up, getting these shoulder pieces in place so the two tabs will slot in. And then these will cover and secure the chest in place. Ow. Like so. And then you can bring the neck tab back in. And now we should have him properly transformed. The backpack wing configurations, you really can do a lot of different ways. It really depends on what you're interested in doing. I showed some other ones in the live stream. I think this one, well, while this is the one that they show on the instructions and so forth, does kind of get in the way of articulation, obviously, with the arms. So it's up to you. You can straighten this out as well. Kind of. You can't fully straighten this out because this tab will run into this die-cast joint, but you can kind of, you know, futz around with it a little bit to make it go like this, or even out to the side to some degree. But really, I don't think it's the most flexible in terms of options that are going to be satisfying most of the collectors, either in toon or toy accuracy. Anyway, so here we have him. He does look really nice. As always, Fans Toys does a really fantastic job with quality of materials that they have for the most part. I said this in the live stream. His main body, like all this robot mode parts, not his backpack, feels very, very reminiscent of all their high quality plastics. A lot of die cast, like in the thighs, the toes. I don't think the heels are, but a lot of joints as we saw in the backpack. I think parts of the chest are solid, possibly. I'm trying to feel around for some of the cold bits. Definitely the thighs. So he has a lot of heft. So he is 1 pound 3 ounces as he stands without any accessories. But like I said, a lot of the backpack is made of what I feel is less sturdy plastic than what we would expect. But it's still good plastic. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad plastic. It's just you can definitely feel the difference between the core bot and the backpack. And I think they do that for balance issues, because if there was so much more heft back here, he definitely would be unbalanced a bit. But doing a quick 360, let's move him off to the side so I can get an image over here of him in his cartoon render. So let's see here. We talked about the backpack. I don't think there's really that much more you can really get this compact. Maybe a little bit more, but I mean, it is quote-unquote screen accurate. Some of the people have pointed out that having the fin folded back may or may not be accurate. And one of the biggest complaints that I've heard from some of my commenters and on TFW is that in the show, the cartoon, these wings actually reside on his legs and these parts come up to the top. They do that with Zeta, who I do have a comparison for this time, but they don't do that for Goose here. So it's a trade-off. I don't think it's that bad. I don't really mind it that much, but for those who are very, very hardcore into accuracy, that is something to note. So other accessories that we have, he does have one alternate face. It is his screaming face. Looks very nice, gold, painted, metallic gold with nice blue eyes. Same thing as his stock face, nicely painted. Looks very nice. His guns are a nice blackish metallic flake. It does have a tab back here which you'll use to peg in, that transformation that you'll use to peg into his alt mode. But you can lift out the fingers and tab this in very securely with this tab, like so. It's not going anywhere. He has 2 of these, identical. As far as other stuff in robot mode, I think he does look really nice. Nice red plastic, translucent plastic bits here and there. The paint itself is on this main body pretty immaculate. I get more issues on the actual alt mode here. Like you can see some yellow peeking out from this black and so forth. And this is just out of the box basically. But by and large, he looks really, really nice in robot mode. Let's do some articulation. So he does have a swivel and a swivel up, and he doesn't really look down at all. He does look up a little bit. He can kind of go around, just be careful once you try to get more than about here, because this backpack section or neck section could rub. He has very stiff ratchets going around that way. Friction, 90 degree, almost close to 90 degrees for his elbow. Wrist swivel, individually articulated fingers. That's become standard. I mean, these basically look like the same fingers that we've gotten ever since like Quake Wave. So very boxy. His thumb is on a ball joint that goes around. So this is the one thing I talked about, and people are either whatever, not a big deal, other people think it is. So in my live stream, I said he can't actually turn left.
He can't turn left.
Yeah, right.
That's because of the way this flap, this back flap, is designed. So he can turn right. No, right. He can turn right, but he can't turn left at all. But he can turn right so far that he looks like he's turning left. So about here is as far as he can go, which is not as much as I would like, but it's better than nothing. So thank you, Aaron. I think Aaron Escher. He's the one that commented on the live stream, mentioning that you can do that. I didn't even think about that, but it is a workaround. I don't think it's very excusable, but I'll leave that to you to decide whether you're okay with that or not. He doesn't have an does not have an ab crunch or anything like that. These friction hinges go out, ratchets pretty stiff. I don't know why it doesn't go 90 degrees. It looks like it should, but that goes just below. I think that's good enough. Out to the side, it goes about here before it starts hitting at the hip. Backwards, you can go about here before he starts hitting some parts of the backpack. He does have a nice thigh swivel, which can go almost 90 degrees out and a little bit inwards. I was afraid they were going to have the cut here and the square, which breaks up the look, but they don't. He has almost, again, oh no, he does actually have 90 degrees at the knee. At the ankle, he does have a nice rocker that goes in, doesn't go out. He does have that toe, which is really for transformation and only goes down, it doesn't go up. Same thing for the heel. That's it. He does have a little bit of forward and back, as you can see here. Maybe not back, but a little bit of movement. You really get more of it once you start using the ankle rocker. And that's it, I think. Some of the stuff on the back here, you can obviously move around just like the wings, but it's not really for articulation purposes. Let's see here. So I already did some of these comparisons, but let's just do it again for completeness. Here he is with MP10, and I think that scales okay. Here he is with a Seeker mold, MP Seeker mold. So he's a little bit taller than a Seeker mold. Here he is with Ocular Max's Blast Off. As I mentioned, I will be doing a live stream, a review, or maybe I'll probably do a live stream of him in the next week or so. It really depends on how much time I have. And then lastly, thank you to Razorwire, one of my buddies. He's also local. He came to pick up his goose from my house last night, and I asked him, since he does have a Zeta Superion, to bring his. So he brought his, I don't even remember what this guy's called, Zeta's Skydive over, so I can do a comparison for you guys. Oh, I do have Maverick as well. Sorry. This time he is properly transformed. I did go ahead and take time to transform him correctly. So he does look quite a bit better in robot mode now. Alright. So, this is what they look like. Obviously, he's a little bit smaller. I think he scales a little bit better in terms of the Seekers, but that's up to you. Coming to the side here, you can see they both have a hefty backpack. Some people like the fact that you can have the fin straight out like this. You can do that here, kind of, but it'll be upside down, or you can flip it and it'll be very low. So this does hinge down. We'll see it later, but it will sit very low. Alternatively, you can do that as well. And as I was saying, some of the things that people like or dislike about this figure is that you can't do kind of like the compressed looking jet on his backpack as accurately. Again, not a huge deal. As you can see, his wings actually come down to his legs, and these horizontal wings come up to the front, the tail wings or whatever they're called. So they both have a hefty backpack. I think he does obviously compress his a bit more, but either way, you're going to have a backpack. I think his face sculpt looks way better. In terms of just the comparison-wise, maybe it's not obvious, but he's very, very much a more solid figure overall. In terms of just recommendations, I wouldn't be able to really recommend this guy over him at all unless you're a hardcore stickler for toy version and maybe this backpack configuration. He just doesn't hold up as well. There's a lot of loose bits on him, like this side panel that goes in very easily. His neck panel comes off. His backpack doesn't tab on either. It's pretty loose. So there's a lot of stuff that now that I have him in hand, I have a more appreciation for Goose. We'll bring him back when we do alt mode comparisons. The last thing to talk about in robot mode is you can replace the face. I recommend you get like a spudger or some other tool. Easiest way is to lift that up, come up underneath the chin, and then just leverage this out. Just be careful. I definitely shot mine out into the depths of my office the first time, and then it's just a quick tab, as you can see here, that will tab in. like so. So with that, let's go ahead and get into transformation. I don't think I forgot anything, or at least hopefully I didn't forget anything. If so, you can check the live stream as well. Let's go ahead and get him transformed. Let's deal with the upper body first. So first thing we'll do is actually deal with the hands. So just have them curled up. You can leave them in the correct orientation like so. You can collapse this down. And then you want to open this panel here. There's a tab section. The way this works is it's on a double hinge. So you want to be careful. Get the shoulder out just a little bit while you do this, because this piece, which I believe is die cast, can scrape that up. You basically want to hinge that all the way up and in. However, you need to have the shoulder completely straight this way. See, if you don't, it'll stick out a little bit more than it needs to. You need to push that in order for this tab to close properly. So same thing on the other side. We'll do that very quickly. Remember to note that he does have to have his shoulder oriented that specific way, the shoulder joint. As up to the body as much as to the side of his body as you can. Give it a push in here if you need to, and close that up. All right. Come to the side. There's flaps that we tabbed in earlier that were inside. We want to open that up. We want to open this neck panel up and basically do kind of what we did before. Just open this. And this is where we'll get more sliding joints. So the shoulders are on a slider. So very small slider. You want to push them forward to give you a little bit of room to rotate. Then once you get to about here, you want to push them out. And you can see, now you can see the slider. Rotate them around again. And then once you get here, you want to push them all the way back, which is only a little bit of movement. So same thing on this side. Pull, rotate, push, rotate. And just be careful when you close this in. These shoulders do rub. I don't see any way around it, even with these sliding joints. So just be very careful. I kind of like to do a little bit of an angle here like this, and then push them in kind of together. Just be very careful. You don't want to mess up that nice paint. And then we just reverse that. We just close this up. There are two tabs here on the shoulders on the opposing sides that match the front side. Close that up, close those flaps up, push this down. And actually, before you do that, it's easier to kind of rotate the head and then push it down, because you want to have them facing backwards. All right, the next thing I'll do is deal with the legs and then deal with the backpack last. So you want to fold up the heel and toe. Uh-oh, went backwards. Heel, then toe. And you want to untab this tab right here. So untab this, and you want to kind of rotate this down and just get it out of the way for now. So same thing on this side, rotate, just get it out of the way, whatever orientation you want. Come to the side here, open this up. The only thing you can't do is you can't rotate this down. This arm here cannot be blocking here, otherwise you can't open this panel. So that's really the only thing to note here. You want to double hinge this into here, into the lower body. I suggest you move the hip flaps out of the way, so to avoid any kind of collision and scraping. Just make sure to keep it completely straight, like so. And then you can close this up. They recommend you go ahead and open at this point and get the wheels out. You can do it later. It is just a little bit easier when this side panel is open. Close that up, and then you can get the hip skirts in place. There we go. Again. There we go. Oops. Open this up. All right. At this point, you can bring both halves of the legs together. And now you can bring that tail piece, this arm, down to the side. And you'll want to have the orientation of the tail rudders, or I don't know what they're called. I'm not a military dude, and I don't know anything about planes really. I barely know that this is the F-16. So, and it should be in this orientation. These tabs will come into play later, so you'll have to lift it up, but leave it like that for now. Or you can leave it like this, it doesn't matter. So now we come to the backpack. This is the bulk of the transformation, I would say. As we did before, we want to pull out on the wings to release them. other thing we need to do is there's two tabs on the side of kind of the fuselage piece here, right here and here. You just need to loosen them up. So pull them outwards just to loosen them, free them from this panel. Come on. There we go. And then this whole backpack will start coming down. You just need to loosen that up. There we go. Come down here. You know what? I'm going to deal with the nose first, actually, this time. So just open this up. This is on a set of double hinges. You need to open up the cockpit. The only real reason you need to do this right now is to get the landing gear out. If you don't need the landing gear, you can skip part of this step. You need to open up the bottom, the intake, pull up the control panel, pull up the seat as far as you can. And from what I was told, this version of the F-16 doesn't actually have two seats, so this appears to be accurate. You want to push down on the landing gear all the way through. Try to grab it like that. We'll close this up actually once we get it down. So then we close up the seat, close up the control panel, close that up. All right, coming back to the top. This is actually on a sliding joint as well. It's a very small sliding joint, but you have it out and then it pushes in like a millimeter or two. You need to push it in so that these pieces here will go into these slots. Like that, push that down as much as you can so it sits flush there. Now that the head is right underneath the landing gear, we can go ahead and straighten the landing gear out and close that up. Where that little hole is, get the landing gear through that. And there we go. We're going to close up these pieces, like so. Okay, now we'll deal with the rest of the backpack. This section here is also on a slider hinge here. So it's a triple hinge, kind of a double hinge, or I guess triple hinge, and this is on a slider. You won't really need the slider for this mode. You will for combined mode, but if in case it slides up and down, just remember that you need to have this as far extended as possible because this needs to go back as far as possible to the rear here. All right, so the first thing we'll do is untab these sections here, straighten out the vertical stabilizer or whatever it's called, vertical fin. And then these side pieces, each half was kind of residing down this way. You need to just extend them forward on those double hinges and bring the two halves together. Like so. All right. Now we can deal with the wings. Now that we have it like that, again, we need to straighten this out. And these are going to rock forward like this. But let's straighten the wings out. Collapse them on that sliding joint to make that really nice lightning bolt deco all line up. Be careful with these pieces. Like I said, the backpack pieces do seem a little bit flimsier in terms of plastic, and these are thin. So just be careful. So just get these in position for now. You're going to pull this all the way down. Close up this panel, which is the thing that restricts the backpack, the waist articulation. And then you want to get this all the way down like so. Clear this area first. And then you're going to just push down, lock these rectangular pieces in there. Push down on the back. There are actually tabs, which I could have shown you before, but really you don't really need to see them. You just kind of feel for them. They push into the back of the legs. And as I said before, just tab these pieces in like so. And that all secures the alt mode rear fuselage, or rear of the plane. I don't even know if that's, I guess the fuselage is the main body, but anyway, so now we can just go ahead and rock this forward. You can see that there's a tab here. This tab doesn't really tab in anywhere, but there is kind of a tab here with this ridge on that flap. So just go ahead and push that in. I like to angle it a little bit down. Something's not going in. There is another ridge here. That's why I said I want you to angle it down a bit. But for some reason, it doesn't want to go in. There we go. There we go. And with that, we have Goose in his alt mode. It looks very nice. For weapons, just fold down the handle. This is quite tight, so just be careful there. You might lose some paint in the deco, but it is what it is. Come down here, you have one peg hole here. These are also quite tight, so as you can hear there, like so. Alrighty, so here he is in alt mode. Let's do a quick 360. Looks very nice. I mean, there are some pieces and bits that kind of break up the look. Mostly the robot mode pieces on the bottom, obviously. Come with this one hinge here, but by and large, I think it looks quite nice. Again, not as a plane expert, just as a casual fan. I like the blue deco here. Looks very, very nice. Coming around to the front. He does have a cockpit on the front, as we saw before, that does open up. It is translucent. You can get your new spike. I haven't tried any of the others. I imagine Carly would. I don't know about Sparkplug, but he can fit in there. The old spike probably won't without a lot of potential damage, mostly because his arms are a little bit wider. But it's cool that he can fit in there. Other playability, really not much. He does have the wheels. You saw how they kind of hide away from from alt mode. You can still access this one very easily, or pretty easily at least, if you have fingernails or some tool. But the front, you have to basically retransform this whole section here, so it's kind of a pain. I don't really want to show that off. You just do it backwards, but you have to split this section, and so it's a lot more work than I really want to do right now. So besides, I'm going to do some comparisons in just a second. Is there anything else I need to mention as far as playability? I think that's it. So like I said, really cool looking. The deco, as I mentioned before, is very nice. I think the paint selection may be more quote-unquote accurate. I'm not really sure. It's more of a it's not super glossy like kind of like the rest of them. It's more of a satin finish. It might be just because it's hard to get a really clean glossy, and obviously glossier is more fingerprint prone, but I think by and large it looks really quite nice. So give me a second, I'll do some comparisons. Okay, we're back, and here are some comparisons, and you can see just how long he is compared to Maverick. Well, I guess that's kind of hard to tell, perspective and all, but here we go. Obviously not even remotely in scale with a Concorde, Concorde being a huge passenger jet. Here he is with a Seeker. That's what some of the folks on the live stream wanted to see. Again, I guess I should do this directly above and below. So you get the idea. They're very well in scale with each other in terms of alt modes. And here he is with Zetas. They're about the same length almost. I think the nose cone is obviously a little bit longer, but by and large, they look good together if you wanted to have two of them. I think the underbelly is a little bit cleaner, and I think based on what I see in the pictures, his Zeta's alt mode may be a little bit more accurate. It's definitely more streamlined with some parts, like here, some people pointed out. But you can't get a spike in here. Obviously, there's no room. In terms of overall quality, this guy feels like he might be double the weight of this guy. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and weigh him. I do have a scale, so let's see. So as I said, 1 pound 3 ounces for Goose. I'm guessing this guy is going to be like 8 ounces or something like that. No, 10.5. 10.5 is what he comes out to. So significantly less. But it's up to you to decide. Again, this is more of a toy deco. As you can see, no blue and stuff like that. But it still looks quite good. Thanks again to Razorwire, aka Ron, from the comments, as well as TFW for letting me borrow that. I'll have to return that today. Yeah, as in terms of playability, we already kind of talked all about that. There's no real anything else to talk about, so let's go ahead and get him reversed into robot mode. I'm not going to do his combined mode, mainly because we don't have any official instructions on that yet. If you want to see what my hypothesis is on that, or my best guess on what his alt mode looks, his combined mode looks like, go ahead and click the live stream, and you'll see that I do my best guess on that, and you can check that out. But I'm not going to go through that now. If I end up collecting the rest of these, which I probably won't, to be perfectly honest, I'll go ahead and show that when we do the combined mode. But yeah, we'll see. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this guy transformed back. The easiest way is to deal with the backpack first, in my opinion. So untab this section here and just pull up on the back to release the tabs back here. Oh, sorry. I'm so dumb. You actually have to release this first. Sorry. And then pull up on the back. You can lift this up as well if you want to get this all extended. But let's deal with that in a second. I want to get these at least transformed correctly. So I go ahead and just transform the legs now, because these just kind of tab in like so. Get the legs open. Go ahead and get the knees in. And close those up. Open this. And then, again, it's a little bit easier if you move these out the way. Slide this all the way up. Like so. And then we get the toe and the heel out. This is just my preference, but you can deal with the backpacks all the way through if you want. I'm going to do it this way first. Let's see here. Get this all the way out. Get it slid in, closed up, toe and then heel. That way we have the lower body all done. I guess we can kind of mess with this now. So let's go ahead and deal with the wheels. Not wheels, the wings. We're going to fold these back. And again, using that slider to collapse them in a little bit closer. You can bring this all the way back and down. Tab them like so. Same thing here. I actually don't remember if I get to the end, if I need to undo any of that, but I don't think so. So, like so. This part you do need to split. It's a little hard to get to. I again recommend, if you can, even though they have a little slot here, it's just not really, you can't really get any leverage in here. So I would recommend kind of coming in underneath if you can, or you can come to the top and try to split it like this. But either way, it's not ideal. Come on. There we go. All right, and then bring this around on that double hinge. Tab that in like so. Same thing on this side. Make sure you get these hinges squared so it tabs in correctly. And then these will come down on those double hinges and rock like so. All right. And if I'm not mistaken, it will collapse like this. So it has to be like a reverse Z from this angle, or a Z from that side. No, this is Z, reverse Z on that side from these pieces. But let's just leave those down for now, since we have to do the upper portion. So up here, kind of like we did before, just split this up. Split these sections. Oh man. these are very tightly tabbed in. There we go. Open that up, flip these open. You can now pull up on this to release the tabs up here. And you can see this rotates around. That is for combined mode transformation. And again, if you want to take a look at that, check out the live stream. I do that near the end. Or maybe it might be towards the middle because I answer a lot of questions at the end. So lift these up, push this landing gear all the way in and to the back. Close this, close this, close this. And then you can close this back up. All right. Remember, you can extend this if you'd like. I think you will need to extend it for this mode. And this will just come back like that. This will close up and lock these into place with those pegs. And then the backpack, as we did before, remember keeping all these to the side, making this a Z, like so. I'm going to bring this all the way up and use these slots to just kind of be a placeholder for now. Okay, there we go. And then we should be set. All right. Now the main body, lift up the neck tab, rotate the head, come to the side, undo these little flaps, open up the chest, and then we're going to do that kind of sliding rotation. Oh, sorry, I forgot to get his toe out, or his toe didn't flip out. Get his toe, his sliding and rotating and get his shoulders out. So pull down to get it kind of rotated. It might be good to get both actually if you can. And try to rotate them out. Like so. Once you get it to here, slide them in, rotate again, and then slide them back. Once that's done, these two slots, make sure these are perpendicular to the chest, and then close those tabs up, close this neck panel up, and we're almost done. You can extend the arms. Make sure to extend them all the way. You'll definitely hear a definitive click. Open up the panel, get the fist out, like so. And then we can access this tab a little bit easier. Remember, we're going to have to pull down and get it around on that double hinge. Same thing on this side. Pull it straight down until it locks. Open this up. Flip this around. Open this panel and get it rotated all the way around. This die cast piece should sit into the arm now and be flush with the inside of the arm. And with that, unless I forgot something, I don't think so, we are back in robot mode for Goose. So, final thoughts. So my first impressions of this guy were like pretty standard Fans Toy stuff. Very hefty. Looks really good. Paint's really nice. Plastic quality's nice. Overall, I did have a little bit of qualms about the backpack, but to be fair, I do say the backpack feels a little cheap, but it's still better than, say, Zeta's plastic all around. So I think that's still very good. You will have some paint chipping that's going to be kind of inevitable with the type of paint that they seem to have used here and on the back. It's not that bad. Just be careful when you do the transformations. The robot mode from the front looks fantastic. Side, I think I can live with it. If you're not too much of a stickler for cartoon accuracy, this stuff may or may not bother you, but it doesn't really bother me personally. The biggest thing for me is whether the combined mode will actually work well or not. As I talked about in the live stream, his combined mode that I'm guessing at, based on the renders that we have, doesn't feel like it's going to be very solid as a calf or as a leg. Just parts not tabbing and so forth. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. But by and large, I think he's a good figure. I think he's a worthwhile buy for most people. If you're a Fans Toys fan, there's no reason I think that you might not want this. For me, though, to be perfectly honest, I don't think I'm in on either the Zeta or Fans Toys. I think there are issues with both of them that prevent me from wanting either of them. And I'm not a huge Superion fan, so I'm probably gonna just wait and see if there's a better option. If there's not, then whatever. I'll be fine without a Superion. Like I said, the Zoolander effect. I'm gonna call him Goolander from now on, just because it's just so hilarious that he can't turn one way unless you turn him the other way. So he gets kind of a 45-degree turn to the left if you do that at the minimum. But yeah, for me, he's probably not a buy, especially knowing that the last limb is going to contain all the combiner parts, and that it's going to be way more expensive, most likely, than this guy here. He's probably going to be, if what they said was for Menasor, that the last Limbot will have all combiner parts and cost as much as their Motormaster did, which was like, I think 180 or 190 for the reissue or something like that. So I imagine their combined parts limb will cost as much as their Maverick or more. So probably around 180 to 200. So that just makes it a little too expensive for me in terms of what I want out of these figures. But who knows? Maybe I'll pick them up at the end. Maybe I'll do reviews for the rest of these, but more than likely I'm going to put these on the selling block in the next couple days. But hopefully you guys liked the review and the live stream yesterday. I'll be coming back with some more live streams, probably 2 in the next week or 2. One for Blast Off from Ocular Max, and one sooner, which will be Motormaster, the X-Transbot's Gravestone, which I should be getting early next week. So if you guys have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. If there's anything you want me to review in particular that you want me to purchase or take a look at, if I have a chance, let me know. What are some of your excitements or reservations about this set? Let me know in the comment section, all right? Thanks a lot, everyone. Hope you have a good one.